it's infinitely configurable, so all scenarios can be handled. Right? You run a simulation to establish a baseline, and then you can change parameters, any number of them, and then view the outcome. And then you can compare the two and say, okay, which one's better for which outcomes? And then you can report on this. You can say, look, the reason I made the decision to do something was because I ran 5 simulations, and then simulation number 3 was the one that produced the best outcomes across multiple metrics. And that's why we made the decision. That's why we actually spend the money. And hey, later on, when we run the when we run the actual discovery again, we can prove whether our simulation predicted things correctly or not, and we can adjust the simulation too, right? So the outcome can be measured through discovery and then be used to improve the outcome. Now, of course, you can feed data from process mining, or you can feed data that's gathered by GenAI to create more accurate simulations because the input data is much more accurate. All right, so let's go from theory to like a real world example here, right? So this is one of our customers, a large company providing a number of healthcare solutions, right? One of which includes renal care centers, right? So this is for dialysis. They have more than 370 networked renal care centers that are spread over 30 plus countries, with 4 million people needing dialysis daily, regularly, right? So what they wanted to do was they wanted to model and digitize the workings of a renal care center so that they could increase capacity, reduce operational costs, but more importantly, improve the customer experience, right? So the idea is that if I require dialysis, I should be able to show up at any one of these renal care centers and be treated, right? Without having to fill out paperwork or without having to plan in advance and so on. Now, as a patient requiring dialysis, that makes my life so much better, right? I don't have to think about it, right? I can go on vacation, I show up at a renal care center, I get my thing done, I'm off, right? I don't have to worry about the hassle of how would I do this and so on. But to realize that is not easy, right? Because again, I have 30 different countries, multiple regulations, I have multiple processes that are operating, multiple people. So creating these models, right? And the models included digital twins of patients, of medical devices, of supply chain logistics, operating procedures, all of those things. When I create these models and I've optimized it for one renal care center, then I can replicate those models across the 370, right? And I can get huge benefits, right? So for this company, they were able to get a increase in revenue, right? So again, this is a top line benefit, which normally you don't think about when you look at optimization, right? The reason they were able to get that top line benefit increased in revenue, 25 to $45 million of annual increase in revenue was because they could see more patients, right? They could serve more patients. They also had a 10 to 20% reduction in operations costs, which is a good benefit, but the first one is even better, right? And then the last one, right, this improved customer experience. So for their patients, this is a life-changing thing. And that, I think, is the most important benefit because that keeps their patient with them for a longer period of time and also helps get them more patients and be able to serve more patients because they're better at it than their competition would be, right? So again, this is a real world example of all the technologies I was talking about where a company actually built the digital twins, deployed them, and was able to reap benefits. And they're taking this from one major region like EMEA and then also applying it to North America and APAC to move forward, okay? So that's one example. Of course, there are many, many different areas where DTOs can be used. They're industry agnostic. We've listed some over here. You have insurance claims processing, banking and investment services, manufacturing, healthcare, aerospace and defense. Pretty much any business operation, any complex operation that you do, whether it's production planning or supply chain optimization or patient flow optimization, customer onboarding, any number of those things can be modeled and optimized using DTOs.